Okay, welcome everyone. As we are co-sponsored by the Rezepkowitz family in honor of their parents. We're co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan L'Refuah Shalema for Yedidya ben Penina, Shoshana Bas Penina, and Simone Bas Rachel. We're co-sponsored by Binyamin Rivlin, Lili Nishmas, Yitzhak ben Avram Yehuda Alevi. We are also co-sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Eli, Orit, and Ora. We are sponsored by Be'er Goldwasser, L'Refuah Shalema, for Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel, and Dov Meir ben Chai Gittel. We should have a L'Refuah Shalema b'Sech Shachar Yisrael. And our Kos HaTov to the Shir, we're sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam bas Gad, Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev, that the neshama should have an aliyah. We welcome in, joining the shir, Aaron Swade, who has officially ditched us certain days of the week, and he will be reported to the principal's office. Dr. Guy, Baruch Ian, Mo Kushner, Shimon Klein, Irving Fishbaum, Nachman Chapler, Chaim Kramer, Saba, Marshall Castle, Yaakov Warman, Yitzi Muller, Barry Cement, Michal Akta, Yitzi Fuchs, Ruvain Pollack, Mel Zachter, Shelley Zeitlin, Eddie Chazan, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Lehman, Berish Gesseman, Eba Arbach, Avram Rezepkowitz, now joined just this moment by Dr. Udell, David Helfgott on Kol we have here in Shul so far Gedalia Engel and Michal Avram Chavin and Ruvain Shannet joining us this evening, and we are holding on Daf Tzadik Aleph Amid Beis, and we're holding by Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Tzadik Aleph Amid Beis, as we have just been joined by Itchy. Welcome, Itchy. 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Tzadik Aleph Amid Beis. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Kol hamoineya, whoever withholds halacha mipi Talmud, whoever withholds teaching a Talmud, ki'ilu goizloi minachalas avosav, it's as if he robs him of the heritage of his ancestors. Shenemar Torah tziva lanu Moshe, the Torah was commanded to us by Moshe, Morasha, it is the heritage of Kihilas Yaakov. Morashihi l'kol Yisrael, so by withholding it, you're denying him his heritage. Have to know that when a community school doesn't take in a child into the school and the child ends up being home, or worse, going to public school, they're robbing him of the inheritance of his ancestors. It's a terrible thing. By Rashi, L'Kol Yisrael, M'Sheshis Yimei Bereshis, from the 6 days of creation. Amar of Chana bar Bizna, notice that Chana over here is a man's name. Amar of Chana bar Bizna, Amar of Shimon Chasida, Reb Shimon the Pious, Kol haminei halacha mipi Talmud, whoever withholds halacha from his Talmud, afilu uborim shebemei imoi mikal l'noisai, even the fetus in the mother's womb, curse him. Shenemar moneya bar, if you withhold bar is grain, and the Torah is compared to grain because it's what sustains a person. Moneya bar, if you withhold the grain, the lechem of Torah, yikvuhu la'um, you'll be cursed by the fetus, because ve'ein la'um el ubarim, la'um is a fetus. Shnema la'im la'im yematz. Rivka was told that one of the fetus will be more stronger than the other one. In other words, Yaakov and Esav will not live equally. One will be stronger than the other. Ve'ein kava, when it says yikvu, the word kav, ela klala, refers to a curse. Shenema mo ekov. Bilam said, how could I curse them when like kava kale, when Hashem doesn't want to curse them. That's why Balak, whose whole yichus in the Torah is that he hired Bilam to curse Klal Yisrael, the word Balak is an anagram of likav, to curse. Ve'ein bar el Torah, and bar refers to Torah. Shnemer nashku bar, you should drink the bar, pen yanaf, lest Hashem get angry. So here it means to drink from the waters of Torah, or to embrace the Torah, lest Hashem get angry. Ula by Yishmael says, Menakvin oisai kivara. If a person withholds Torah from a student, the Rebbe will be pierced like a sieve. Ksiv hacha yikvu la'im. A lashon of yikvu will be pierced. Uksiv asam vayikayv char b'daltai. They made a hole in the door. V'amar Abaya, you know how much he will be pierced, like the top of a salt shaker. The Gemara doesn't say that. It says ki uchlo dekatzrei. The launderer had an instrument with many holes, which he sprinkled the water over the clothing, and therefore you will be perforated like the instrument of the washerman, of the laundryman. The imlimdoi maschara. Now, on the other hand, if he teaches the student, what's his reward? Amarav sheishes zoicha lebrachas ki Yosef. He'll be merit brachas like Yosef. Shenemar uvracha l'roish mashbir, and there will be blessing to the head of the one who gives, to the one who provides. Ve'ein mashbir al Yosef. Yosef, as viceroy, was known as the supplier of food to the world. Shenemar v'Yosef hu hashalad al haaretz. He was the leader of the land. Hu hamashbir l'chol am haaretz. He was the one who provided for the whole land. Amar of Sheshes. Whoever teaches Torah, this is a great Gemara for Rebbeim. It's a great Gemara for Moros. It's a great Gemara for those that learn with their children in the night. Whoever teaches Torah in this world, will merit to teach it in the next world. Shenemar umarva gamhu yaira. One who satisfies people will be zeicha to satisfy them in the next world too. Now, this is very, to me, this is such a balm to my spirit. I spent, so many years teaching Torah that I could look forward for teaching Torah for the eternity. It's. They say that Rav Pam said he was a Rebbe for over 60 years. So Rav Pam will be teaching Torah for eternity. So you'll say, what do they need Moshe Meir Weiss to teach Torah? They'll have Rav and Abaya. Who's going to want to learn from Moshe Meir Weiss? They'll have Rav and Abaya. They'll have Ravina and Rav Ashi. They'll have Rabbi Kiva. They'll have Rashi. They'll have the Rambam.
And they'll have
They'll
have white
okay, so
doesn't have anything to teach.
Yeah, so there'll be people that will.
But
There'll be people that obviously that people will enjoy listening to me because I'll have more knowledge then. In the next world, I'll have a little bit more knowledge. Hopefully, a lot more knowledge.
Who came up with that idea?
There is a famous story that Reb Chaim Volozhin, who of course was the Rosh Yeshiva of the greatest yeshiva, the mother of all yeshivas, Volozhin, so he was giving a shir, and he posed the question. I have to know the greatest minds, the greatest geniuses of the generation were in Volozhin. Every town got only one slot into Volozhin. People moved from their towns in order that their prodigy should get a chance to get into Volozhin. because every town got only one slot into Volozhin. It's really an incredible thing. So anyway, Rav Chaim Volozhin were giving to this collection of the elite, the creme de la creme of the Jewish minds of the generation. He posed a question and no one knew an answer. Rav Chaim Volozhin didn't know an answer either. He comes back in the next day and he tells a remarkable story. That night, a rich man who was one of the great supporters of Volozhin and the Stadt, the city of Volozhin, came to him in a dream from Gan Eden and gave him an answer. Now this man was not a Talmid Chacham, but he was a Machzik Torah. And it says that this is the meaning that the badim of the Aron, the poles that are used to symbolically carry the Aron, even though the Aron carries itself, are not allowed to be removed from the Aron, and they too are in the Kodesh Kodashim. So we learn out there that the significance that those that are Machzik the Torah will also be taught the Torah. So Reb Chaim Volozhin's comment was, I knew that they would learn Torah there, but that they would learn it so fast that this man who went to the next world without knowledge would already be answering a question that the greatest minds learning all their life, day and night, didn't have an answer for. It's an amazing thing. Amarava, back to our question. As it's good to have 28 Zoomers, but we're missing a lot of people over here. We're going to have truancy. The truancy police get after Mark. I don't see Mark. I don't see Shalom Fogel. I don't see, who else don't I see? We're missing a lot of people here. It's infectious. When one person goes away, it's infectious.
Must be a good hockey game on tonight.
Anyway, see, Yisrael listens even when he's in the car. So anyway, says the Gemara, Amar Rava Minayin L'Tchias HaMeisim Min HaTorah. How do we know the resurrection from the Torah?
You know, it takes 8 hours.
How do we know the resurrection from the Torah? Shenema Yechi Ruvain Va'al Yamas. Ruvain will live and not die. So what does that mean? That's a repetitive statement. He'll live and he won't die. Yechi Ruvain Ba'olam Hazeh. He'll live in this world. Va'al Yamas L'olam Haba. He won't die in the next world. Ravina Amma Mehacha V'Rabim Yesheni Admas Offer. Many of those that sleep in the earth, Yokitzu, will awaken. Eilu l'chaya olam, some will awaken to the afterlife. Ve'eilu l'cherpas, and some will awaken to shame. L'dirayin olam, for eternal damnation. Rav Ashi Amar Mehacha, Rav Ashi says from here, V'ata lech l'kates, go to the end. V'sanuach, and rest. V'samoid l'gorolcha, and you will get up to your lot, l'kates hayamin, at the end of days. Amar Rabbi Lazar, kol parnish shemanigas hatzibur benachas. Any leader that directs his community with gentleness. Now here, it's an interesting thing. People, when they look for a leader, they look for a strong leader. They look for a leader that's not going to be a wimp. They look for a leader that's going to be able to hold order and make boundaries. All of that is true. But that same person that has to have a tough spine, he has to be gentle. Rabbi Lazar, a leader that directs the tzibur gently, will merit to direct them in the next world. Shenemar ki merachamam, those that are compassionate, Yenahagem will direct them. Val bambuei mayim, and by the fountains of water, Yenahaleim. He will lead them. Now we know that if you saw a picture and you saw that on one side of a person was Rav Moshe Feinstein, the other side of the person was Rav Elyashiv, the person in the middle wasn't the janitor. The person in the middle must be a really big person. Maybe the Satmar Rebbe. But the person in the middle, so when something is sandwiched, I told you once that Rav Scherer said in a keynote speech that he was asked what the word samager means in Lamnal Shinim. He said, I don't know what it means, but anything that's in between, right, s'chalem v'sashpilem, anything that's in between those two words has to be something really bad. You know, like Barry would say, Zolam eingesunken worden. You know, it has to be really bad. So the Gemara uses this concept of a sandwich to teach us certain things. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, gedoyla deya, great is knowledge. Shenitna bein shtei oisius, it's put in between two names of Hashem. Shenemar kikel deya is Hashem. The Almighty is Almighty of knowledge. So deya, having knowledge, is a big thing. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, gedoyla mikdash, great is the temple. Sheniten bein shtei oisius, shenemar pa'alta Hashem, you ruat Hashem, mikdash Hashem, the mikdash of Hashem, kananu yadecha. So the mikdash is in between two names of Hashem. Ask Rav Adikachina. So Rav Adikachina says, well, if you use this sandwich logic, Elameata gedoyla nekama, great is vengeance. Shenitna bein shtei oisios. Dichsiv kel nekama is Hashem. God is a God of vengeance. Kel nekama safio. So we see vengeance is in between two names of Hashem. Amalei lemilsei, in its proper way, hachanami. It's true. Kedaula. The Amar Ula Shtei Oifayas Halalu Lama. Why does it say Kel Nekamas Hashem, Kel Nekamas Oifia? It says Hofa'ah two times. Because it says, Rashi says, it says Haifa only once. But since it says the word Nekama twice, and the word Haifia goes back on each of the words of Nekama, so it's as if it says Haifia twice. So why does it say that the vengeance shines out twice? Achas l'mida taiva, one is vengeance. Vengeance means a reaction in kind. One is for good, the achas midas parane. So one is for bad. Right? This is schar v'einish. You know, somebody asked Rabbi Miller once. It was the mafia don Castellano was assassinated, and another gang hit what they call a rub out. Right? So somebody asked Rabbi Miller, what do you learn from the rub out of the Castellano Don? And he says, what do you mean, what do you learn? It's a pasuk. V'shilumas rishoyim tira. You will see the downfall of the wicked. Vam Rabbi Elazar, kol adam sheyesh b'deya, any man that has knowledge, ki'ilu nivna beis hamikdash b'yamav. It's as if the Beis Hamikdash was built in his day. Shezeh nitin bein shtei oisios, v'zeh nitin bein shtei oisios. Each one is put between two names of Hashem. Now, the fact of the matter is it's in this week's parasha. We're going to talk about it later in the Chumash here. That one of the reasons why we have so much coverage of the Beis Hamikdash is that when you learn about the building of the Beis Hamikdash, you could be considered as if you built the Beis Hamikdash. And that's the meaning of Kol Dor Shaloi Nivna Beis Hamikdash B'Yamav Ki'ilu Charav B'Yamav. Any generation that the Beis Hamikdash wasn't built in his day, it's as if it was destroyed. What does that mean? It means that if you didn't learn about the binyan of the Mishkan, the binyan of the Beis Hamikdash, then you didn't have the schar as if it was built, and therefore it's Ki'ilu Charav B'Yamav.
Yeah, but we only learn it in the Chumash, and we only learn it one reading, 2 readings.
Okay, that's right.
That's enough?
Well, every time when you learn the Carbon Isla, it's as if you brought a Carbon Isla. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, first wide line on Daf Tzadik Beis Amud Aleph, as we do have now 30 Zoomers over here, and now our 31st Zoomer comes in with Chaim Kramer. It's good to have 31 Zoomers. We'll welcome in Dr. Block as well.
Why is it like it was machlebet? It should be that he didn't build it.
Well, since a person could do something, then he's a destroyer. There is a lot in our belief system that inaction is considered like you did it. So, for example, there is a big nebuch. I know this as a Rav. It's called the silent majority. There are a few people that do things, and then the silent majority doesn't say anything. But they don't realize that they're accessories to the crime, because people who could protest and don't protest, it's as if they did it. Now, the Gemara tells us, V'amar Rabbi Lazar, Kol Adam Sheyesh Baideya, a man who has knowledge, L'Soif Misasher, at the end he'll become wealthy. Shenema Ubedas Chaderim Yimlu Kol Hain, with the knowledge in the chambers will be filled with all wealth and yokar, and everything honorable, precious, v'noim, and sweet. If a person doesn't have knowledge, such a person, a fool, could wreak terrible calamities. Also, l'rachem alav, it's forbidden to have mercy upon him. Shenema kiloi am binasu, you're not a nation of understanding. Al kaini lo yerachamenu oiseyu, therefore your maker will not have mercy on you. V'yotzra, your creator, lo yechanenu, will not show you favor. A fool could cause terrible damage. Here's a person. He comes into shul, and while the rabbi is talking, he sits there and he opens up a sefer in front of everybody. And there's children in the shul, and they see such behavior. What is that behavior teaching? That you're the rabbi, you don't have to listen to the rabbi. And when a person does that and he's a successful, prosperous person, his crime is that much greater. Even worse is the person that as soon as the rabbi gets up to speak, he gets up and walks out. Oy vey.
Pity the fool. Pity the fool.
Boy, I tell you, we have a chorus over here. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, Kol hanoisen pitay l'mi she'ein b'deya, somebody who gives from his bread to a fool, Yisurin ba'an alav, he will suffer. Shenema lachmecha yasimu mozer tachtecha, when your bread you deliver, when your bread you will deliver mozer, there will be Yisurin. The Gemara is going to say that mozer is Yisurin. Mozer tachtecha, there will be suffering in its wake. Ain't tfunabai, because you gave it to someone who has no understanding. Ve'imozer al Yisurim, shenemar v'yar Ephraim es chol, Ephraim saw his sickness, v'Yehuda es mezayra, and Yehuda saw his suffering. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, kol adam she'ein b'deya l'seif geilu, will end up being exiled. Shenemar l'chein gola ami mivli das. My nation was exiled without understanding. Now, we have to understand that this Gemara is teaching us, make sure you don't remain a fool. Hashem gave us, Baruch Hashem, we're living at a time where there's no excuse not to learn. We have the most magnificent Svarim translated into English, and not like it used to be, that the English translation was stuffy and archaic and cryptic. We have English translation with footnotes, copious footnotes, with explanation. And not only that, a person who has the time could go to TorahAnytime.com and listen to lectures on all subjects. He could have a date night with his wife and listen to a Shalom Bayeshir. I recommend to anyone. I have over 10 shiurim on TorahAnytime.com about marriage. There's a great one, Making Our Marriage Sweeter. There's a great one, Navigating Marital Hotspots. There's a great one, A Marriage Primer. All of these shiurim are a great thing to do together with your wife. There are shiurim now, if you want to start preparing to have a beautiful Seder, you could go and hear shiurim and potpourri about the Haggadah. There's so much that a person could do. A person wants to hear shiurim on Emunah. There are professionals who teach Emunah and explain B'tachin. There's no excuse today to get das. Says the Gemara.
Das.
What?
What is Daya?
Barry, I don't have enough time to explain that to you.
If a person is not born to have Daya, he's just an imbecile. He can't.
Doesn't take responsibility.
Is that his fault?
Baruch, that's what I just finished saying. Maybe in the past, a person could say, I didn't have the luxury to go to yeshiva, and I don't know. Today, we have so many svarim on so many levels. Svarim for beginners, svarim for people who are searching, svarim for people that have questions. I mean, there's so many. Just reading the Q&A svarim of Rav Avigdor Miller and Rav Chaim Mintz, listening to the shiurim of Rabbi Bredowitz, just for example, there's so much knowledge available. Now,
Was it Torah.com?
no, TorahAnytime.com. I have over 8,000 shiurim on Torah Anytime. I mean, you might find a few that you like. On Kol HaLashon, I have such a treasure trove of shiurim for women. I used to give shiur once a week in seminary, in Mechon Beis Yaakov Seminary. And for many years, I recorded my women's shiurim on Kol HaLashon. This is before Torah Anytime existed. But on Kol HaLashon, there are hundreds of shiurim that I gave to young women. It's a treasure trove for women. If anybody wants, I have it on Torah Anytime, I think also, but I have extensive shiurim on Kol HaLashon for young girls, 19-year-old, 18-year-old girls, on what to look for on a date. I used to give a 3-part series. Those shiurim are all on Kol HaLashon. If I have 8,000 shiurim on TorahAnytime.com, I must have close to 15,000 shiurim on Kol HaLashon. I remember the day that I still remember. At that time, I was giving shiur on the upper level in the main shul in the Svadish shul, and it was Brachas Daf Beis, I don't know, maybe 4 cycles ago, probably 4 cycles ago, and a man hands me an attaché case. I open up the attaché case, and there's 3 cellular phones. Each one was from a different service. And he said to me, we want you to record on the phone, whichever phone you have the best signal, every share that you give. And that's how I started with Kalaloshin. I don't think I said this for many years, but I think I was Zeicha to be one of the first. I believe on the Daf Yomi I'm selection number 1 in Kalaloshin for Daf Yomi. Am I right about that? I think so. I think I'm selection number 1 on Daf Yomi. And I always felt that I was Zeicha to it because when they were doing Daf, so Eli Teitelbaum wanted to give me shiurim for Daf. And I felt such aggravation that I couldn't do it for him. Because I was saying Daf Yomi then in the Aguda, and I had to prepare the Daf, and he wanted a Daf ahead, like 2 Masechtas ahead, and I couldn't prepare both at the same time, the Daf ahead and the Daf of now, and I felt so bad that I couldn't do it. I think the Rebbeinu Shalom saw how much pain I was in that I couldn't do it, so he gave me the chance to do Kalaloshin. And now, Baruch Hashem, we have TorahAnytime.com, which is the most amazing platform on the planet. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Of course, Kalaloshin is the most amazing platform for those people that don't want to bring a computer in the house. They don't want to have such an instrument anywhere in their home. So therefore, that's why they view Kalaloshin as the purest receptacle. But anyway, says the Gemara, I don't know why I'm so garrulous.
My word is beyond my education level.
Right, like cat. The Gemara says,
I didn't know what that meant either.
Vayar Ephraim, V'amar Rabbi Elazar, we said that. You see, I'm getting lost in my ramblings. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, Kol bayis she'ein divrei Torah nishba'im by b'layla, any house that the words of Torah are not heard in it in the night, eish oichlasa, will be consumed by fire. Now, this doesn't have to mean literal fire. It could mean the fire of fighting. There are houses that there is a rage of fighting, of warfare between the husband and the wife. It also could mean sickness, Rahman al-Islam. Shenemar kol choshech, if in the dark, in the night, tamun litzvunav. Tzvunav is Hashem's treasure, is Torah. It's tamun litzvunav. It's hidden from Hashem's treasure. Tuchlu eish, it will be consumed by fire loy noifach. Fire that doesn't need to be fanned. Such a raging fire. Yeira sorid ba'alai. It will be bad for the sorid, for the Talmid Chacham in his tent. In other words, the person who could learn and doesn't learn. Ain't sorid al Talmid Chacham. A sorid is Talmid Chacham. Shedem uvesridim. The remnants Asher Hashem Kairi, that Hashem summons. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, Kol she'enai mahana talmidei chachamim min achasav, whoever doesn't benefit a Talmid Chacham from his property, eina raya simim bracha l'olam, will not see blessing forever. Shenemar ein sarid la'achlai, there is no remnant to eat. And that means he doesn't feed, he doesn't give the Talmid Chacham. Al kain lo yachil tuvai, therefore his good will not prosper. Ein sarid al talmidei chacham shem nema basridim asher Hashem kairei, the remnants that Hashem summons. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, kol she'ena mishayer pas al shulchanai, whoever doesn't leave some bread on the table, because it says that in order for bracha to be chal, we say Harachamon, right, should give Harachamon Yushal Lana Bracham Aruba Babayis Hazeh Val Shulchan Zeh Sha'achalnu Alav. But if he doesn't have anything on the table, there's nothing for the bracha to be chal upon. So kol she'ena mishayah pas al shulchana yeina royasim bracha la'olam. Shenemar ein sorid la'achlag, is nothing remaining to eat. Al kain lo yachal tuvay, therefore his good will not prosper. V'amar Rav Elazar kol mishayah psisim al shulchana, whoever leaves crumbs on the table, kilo oived avodah zarah. It's as if he worships idolatry. Shenema ha'orchim legod shulchan. They arrange to the idol god their table, v'amamalin l'meni memesach, and they fill to the idol meni from the blended wine. Says the Gemara, lekasha adika shleima ba'adei. If they bring after the meal is finished a whole challah with the crumbs, that's no good. If there's some crumbs, that is good for something there for the bracha to be chal. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, kol hamachalif b'diburai, whoever changes his words from the truth, or whoever acts to disguise his identity, ki'ilu oived avodah zarah, it's as if he worshipped idolatry. Ksiv hacha, Yaakov was afraid that if he was going to fool Yitzchak, v'yisi be'enov kimisateya, I will be like one who deceives. V'ksiv hasam, and when it talks about a deceiver, it says hevel hema, idols are vanity, ma'isa tatuim, a work of idolatry. So you see that it's like idolatry. V'amar Rabbi Elazar, this is a scary thing. There's a lot of availability for nudity on the internet. Whoever looks at nakedness, kashtoinin eres, his male organ will be emptied. Shenema area, because of nakedness, teyor kashtecha, his bow, his male organ will be emptied. Amar Rabbi Elazar, now this is a Gemara that people should underline and highlight and put on their refrigerators and put on their desks. Amar Rabbi Elazar, la'olam ave kavol v'kayim. A person should be below the radar, and when a person lives below the radar, v'kayim, he will endure. Humility makes a person endure, because when a person stands out, they're susceptible to the ayin hara. So it's a good thing to fly below the radar. A house that's dark, that means a house that doesn't have windows, we won't open and make windows to view its leprosy. In other words, a house that doesn't have windows can never, even if it has the red and green blotches, and it has siras, it could never be viewed, because the house has to be viewed by its natural light, and since it doesn't have windows, we don't make windows. Shema mina, that if you live, so that the idea, the symbolism of not having windows, is a person who is not, in the limelight. So Shema mina. Amrav Tavi, Amrav Yaishia, Ma'idich Sha'ol v'oitzerechem, the grave, the narrow womb, and Eretz lo'isvei amayim, and land which is not satisfied with water. V'chi ma'inyan Sha'ol eitzerechem. What's the comparison to the grave, to the womb? Elaloi malach ma'rechem machnis amaytzi. Just like the womb takes in the man's zera and gives out a child, af sha'el machnes amaitzi. So also the grave will take in a dead body and bring it back with tchias amesim. V'aloi dvam kal v'chayim ma'rechem shemachnishin b'y v'chashoy. Ma'adach the womb, where the couple has relations privately, behind closed doors. The baby comes out wailing with cries and with shouts of Mazel Tov. The grave, where the person goes into the grave with much sobbing and crying, for sure the person will come out amongst great shouting and jubilation. This is a refutation of those that say, Tana de Elio. We are taught in the Academy of Elio, Tzadikim she'oser HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'achyosan, those righteous people that Hashem will resurrect, einon chozrin la'ofen, they'll never return to the dust, they'll live forever. Shenema v'hi anisha b'tzion, those that remain in Tzion, v'anoisa b'Yerushalayim, and left over Yerushalayim, kadosh yom alay, they will call them holy. Kol ha'kosav l'chaim b'Yerushalayim, all of those that were written to life in Yerushalayim. So ma kadosh la'olam kayim, just like one who was holy will live forever. Af haim, so the righteous la'olam kayam will live forever. And now we turn to Daf Tzadik Beis Amud Beis. These Gemaras, as Irving will quote me, we get a separate mitzvah saseh for every word. So imagine how many mitzvahs we get over here. It's really a fire sale. So the Gemara says, wait a second. We know that after the year 6000, Hashem is going to destroy the world, and the world will be desolate for 1,000 years. So what's going to be during that 1,000 years? That Hashem will renew the world. And Hashem will be elevated alone at that time. What's going to happen if they don't return to the dust? What's going to happen to them? So says the Gemara, Hashem will make them wings, kinesharim, like the eagles, and they will float over the waters. They'll glide over the waters. They shouldn't be afraid. Bahamer eretz, when the earth is switched. B'mot harim, when the mountains collapse. B'lev yamim, into the heart of the sea. That during that 1,000 years, the righteous will have tsar. No way. Talmud Leimer v'koivei Hashem, those that hope to Hashem, yachlifu kayach, their strength will be renewed. Yalu ever kinesham, they will rise with wings like the eagles. Yarutzu, they will fly. V'lo yigo, they won't be wearied. Yelchu, they will go. V'lo yafu, they won't be tired. Says the Gemara, but what about the atzamas yavation, the dried bones, at the time of Yecheskel, which returned to the grave, v'neilef b'meisim she'echia Yecheskel, that they got up and they died again. Savala Commander Amar be'emes mashallah. He holds that was just a parable. Now the Gemara is going to go into the whole discussion of that Tzamos Yavation, the dried bones that Yecheskel brought back to life. The Tani Rabbi Lazar Meisim She'echia Yecheskel, the dead that Cheskia revived, Amdu ala raglayim, they stood upon their feet. V'amr shira, they said song to Hashem. Umeisim, and then they died. They didn't have, their resurrection was short-lived. Ma shira amru, what song did they say? Hashem meimis b'tzedek, Hashem puts to death injustice. Umechaya barachmim, and brings back to life with mercy. Rabbi Shua Mashira Zu Amru, they said this song, Hashem meimis mechaya, Hashem makes death and brings to life. Morid Sha'ali, brings them to the grave. V'yal, and brings them back. Rabbi Yehuda, there never was really bones that came to life. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Emes Mashal Haya, was a parable. Amalei Reb Nechemia, excuse me, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Emes, it was truth, Mashal Haya, it was a parable. So now that sounds like a contradiction. Is it truth or a parable? If it's true, then why do you say it's a parable? If it's a parable, why do you mean it's true? In truth, mashal haya. Rabbi Lazar Mnaisha, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Meisim She'echi Yecheskel, they had a long-term life. Alul Eretz Yisrael, they went on Aliyah, Menasu Nashim, they married women, Vaylidu Banim, and they had children, Ubanas, and boys and girls. Amid Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira al Ragma, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira got up on his feet, and he said, V'amar Anim ibnei b'neihem, I am from their descendants. V'alalu tefillin, and these tefillin, Shaniach li Avi Abba, that my father's father gave them, Mehen is from one of the ones that were revived. Now, who were these that merited to be revived? Who are the dead that Yecheskel revived? Amarab, Elu b'nei Ephraim, these are the children of Ephraim. Shemanu l'kates, that they calculated when they were supposed to leave Mitzrayim, B'to, and they left Egypt early, and they were slaughtered by the Philistines. That's why it says, "V'loi nacham elikim derech eretz plishtim." Hashem didn't want them to go derech eretz plishtim, because then they would have slaughtered 30,000 of Shevet Ephraim that was slaughtered, and they would lose heart. So Ma'nir Numeisim Shechi Yecheskel Amarav Elu b'nei Ephraim. These are the children of Ephraim. Shemanu l'kates, they numbered the kates. V'to, and they made a mistake and they left Mitzrayim too early. Shenemo b'nei Ephraim, the children of Ephraim, and now we learn a family, and this is a family and its generations. B'nei Ephraim Shusalach, excuse me. B'nei Ephraim Shusalach uvered b'nai, Shusalach and Vered his son. V'sachas b'nai, and Sachas his son, v'el-oda b'nai, v'sachas b'nai, v'zeved b'nai, v'shuselach b'nai, v'ezer v'lazar, v'arogam anshe Gas, and the people of Gas, these were Philistines, killed them, that were anoiladim ba'aretz, those who were born in the land, killed them. Uksiva yisabel Ephraim aviem, and Ephraim, their father, mourned them yomim rabim for many days. Vayavo echov lenachemai, and his brothers came to comfort him. Now this is a very big, on the timeline of the history of Mitzrayim, it's very difficult to say that Ephraim mourned them, because it says that Levi passed away, and that's when the Shibbut started, 117 years before they left Egypt. So it's a big chiddush to say that Ephraim was still around 30 years before the Exodus. Right? That would put Ephraim at a very
Ripe age.
very ripe age indeed. But that's what's mashma from this Gemara, that Ephraim mourned them, and his brothers came to comfort him. Again, Echav is an interesting thing, because we know of Ephraim as having only one brother, Menashe, but there is an opinion that Yaakov told Yosef, your children, Hanoiladim b'Mitzrayim, before I came down. So someone has say that that Yosef and Osnas did have other children, which would be backed up from this pasuk. It's very interesting.
Doesn't it also say that Levi was the last of the living brothers?
No, but Levi is the generation before.
Oh, right.
Now, Elu b'nei Adam u'Shmuel Amar. Who are these atzamas yiveshes? Elu b'nei Adam shekafru b'tchias hamesim. These are the people that denied the resurrection. Shenema v'yomer Eli ben Adam, and he said to me, Son of man, these bones, Kol Beis Yisrael Hema, they represent the Beis Yisrael. Hine Oimrim, they said, Yavshu Atzmoiseinu, our bones are dried, V'ovda Tikvoiseinu, and all hope is lost. Nigzer Alano, we are decreed upon with no hope. So Hashem then revived them, probably according to this opinion, only for a short amount of time to demonstrate Tchias HaMesim. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar Elu b'nei Adam she'ein b'hem lachlucha shel mitzvah. What does it mean that they're dried bone? That they didn't have any moisture of mitzvah to them. Shenemar hatzamas hayaveshes shimu devar Hashem. The dry bones that were dry from listening to the words of Hashem. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nafcha Amar Elu b'nei Adam shechifu es ha'heichel kulei shkatzim ru'masim. Terrible thing. These were people that covered the temple walls with shkatzim and ramatzim, with pictures of all kinds of idolatrous, disgusting, and creeping things, all kinds of pagan worship. Shenemar v'odoi v'era, I will come and I will see. V'inei kol tavnis remetz ubehema sheketz. There was every form of creeping thing, an animal, and disgusting thing. The kol gilulei Beis Yisrael, all of the idols, mechuka ala kir saviv, was etched on the wall round about. Uksiv hasam ve'avireni aleihem, when it was the Tchias HaMesim was done, ve'avirani aleihem, and Hashem passed me over them, saviv saviv. So it uses the term roundabout, just like the idols and the shkatzim on the walls were roundabout. Rabbi Yochanan says the atzamas yeveshes that were revived is referring to something else. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, who do we have on Motorola? Welcome, Mrs. Yaffe. We'll be starting the Chumash here momentarily. But first we have the Agadata, which is also perfect for you to listen to. The bones that Yecheskel revived with the demonstration of Tchias HaMesim, Elu Mesim Shebebikas Dura. These are the dead in the valley of Dura. This is an interesting story. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan, Minar Eshel ad Rabbis Bikas Dura, from the river of Eshel until Rabbas is the place which is known as Bikas Dura, the plains of Dura. Shebeshah shehigla Nebuchadnezzar Rashas Yisrael, when Nebuchadnezzar exiled Klal Yisrael, hoyu behem bachurim, there were youths of Klal Yisrael, sheyu meganin es achama b'yofian. They were so handsome, they had such a shine that they shamed the sun from their radiance. And Vahaya Kazdiyais, the Babylonian aristocratic women, Rayas son, saw them b'shayfai zavais, and it caused them to secrete sexually. Amru l'baleim, they told their husbands, u'baleim l'melech, and their husbands complained to the king. Tziva HaMelech, the wicked Nebuchadnezzar, it commanded v'harogim, and they killed them. They killed these youth. And even looking at their corpses caused the women to still have secretion. The king commanded to trample them. Now these that were trampled came back to life at the time of Yecheskel. Don Rabbana. Hipul Nebuchadnezzar Rasha as Chanani Mishal V'Azariah L'Kivshan Eish, when Nebuchadnezzar made a great golden statue and told everybody to bow down to it under the threat of death. And Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah defied Nebuchadnezzar. Right? They learned out of Kal V'chomer from the frogs. The frogs by Tsaras, they entered into the ovens during the plague of Tsaras, and they made a Kal V'chomer. They didn't have to enter the ovens. They could have gone elsewhere, and they still entered the ovens. So we, who are commanded not to worship idolatry, we surely should not defy Hashem and worship, and we should enter the oven. And they went into the oven, defying Nebuchadnezzar. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu LiYechezkel. So in a demonstration of fireworks, Hashem said to Yechezkel, Leich ve'echi ameisim b'kasdura. First, let all of the dead that were trampled, those handsome youth in Bikasdura, resurrect them. Kavan she'echi yaisan, once they were resurrected, bo atzamas, these dried bones came, v'tafcha lo'isa rasha al panav, and they smacked Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar said, Ama mativan shel elu, whose are these? Ama loy chavrein shel elu mechayim mesim b'bikasdura. The colleague of these three men, of Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah, brought back to life the dead of the valley of Dura. Pasach v'amar, Nebuchadnezzar immediately started to say, Asoi k'mar Avram, your signs, O God, are very great. V'simoi, and the amazing things that you do, k'mar takifim, how mighty they are. Malchusei malchus olam, your kingdom is a kingdom forever. V'shaltane, and your dominion imdar b'dar, is for every generation. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Yutzak Zav Reiseach L'Seich Piv Shalois Rosh. May molten gold, boiling gold, be poured down the mouth of Nebuchadnezzar. When Nebuchadnezzar saw this, he started saying the most eloquent shira, the most eloquent song. And it says, Shil Molei Ba Malachu Sitara Yalpiv, if an angel didn't come and smack Nebuchadnezzar in the face, Bikesh Leganais Kol Shiros V'Sishbachais Shama David B'Sefer Tilim. He would have been motivated to say such eloquent prose, such eloquent praise that would have put to shame the Tilim of David HaMelech. So here there's a famous question that in the Or Gedalia, Rav Gedalia Shor, who was called the first American grown Gadol, he said about the Gedalia Shor asked, what would be so bad if Nebuchadnezzar would say such shira? What would be bad? If we had a shira that was more eloquent than Tilim, wouldn't we be richer?
Right.
So Rav Gedalia Shor said that the kunst of Tilim, there's no kunst to say shira when you see the dead come to life, when you see people walking out of a furnace. The kunst is when you're being beaten down and you could still say shira. That's the kunst. Mizma leDavid bevarchai mipnei Avshalom b'nai. He was still singing to Hashem when he was running away from Avshalom, his son, who wanted to kill him. So Rav Gedalia Shor said the Malach slapped him, and he said, now let me see you say shira. After getting the slap from the Malach, he couldn't say shira anymore. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, Shisha Nisim Nasu Ba'isa Yain. 6 miracles occurred that day. Ve'elohein. Sofa Kifshin, the furnace which was sunk in the ground, rose up so everybody could see it. V'nifretz HaKifshin, and the furnace broke open. They saw Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah walking around. V'hum Aksaidai, and its bottom collapsed. V'nepach tzelem al ponav, and the big idol fell on its face. V'nisrafu arba malchios, and there were 4 royal members that were the executioners that got burnt. And Yecheskel brought back to life the dead of Bikas Dura, the Kulu Gemara. All of these events we know only Talmud Mepi Rebbe, only from tradition. The Arba Malchia is Krah, but that the 4 royal nobles died, that we know from a pasuk. It's a diak from omission from a pasuk. Let's see it inside. Dichsiv, und Nebuchadnezzar Malka Shlach, and Nebuchadnezzar the king sent Lemichnash to gather Lachshtar Panya, the nobles, Signaya, the officers, Upachavasa, and the governors. Which ones? Adagzraya, Gedavraya, the Savraya, and Tiftaya, and V'chol Shiltanei Midinta, and all the rulers of the provinces. Uksiv, and it says afterwards, Eisei Guvrin Yehudan, that the king's messengers said that there are certain Jews that are that have not accepted the golden image, so they were supposed to be put in. Uksiv, and afterwards it says, Umiskanshin, they gathered Achashtarpanya, Signaya, Upachavasa. They came close. The Hadovre Malka and other nobles, Chazer Legavraya Ilech, they saw these people, Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah, walk out with no effect. But the pasuk says just Achashtarpanya, Signaya, and Pakvasa. It leaves out the 4 names mentioned, the Adar Gazraya, the Gedavraya, the Davraya, and Tiposaya. It leaves them out because they got burnt. Okay, whoa, 10 after 9, wow, an hour and 2 minutes. Time, Rabbi Isai, as we say, well spent time. Okay, Rabbi Isai, the night is young, as we are now going to have a Chumash here. And those of you that will be in the shul on Shabbos really do not have to stay, because I will say this sometime over Shabbos. But if you are not going to be in Fairways, in Agudas Yisrael Beis Zev of Lakewood, then I would say if you don't have anything pressing to do, it would be a luxury to stay, if I might say so myself. Let's just,
Luxor.
let's just
It is for sure.
set up.